do the sex.
Today's locker room talk topic is how to increase women's libido in 2023. That's right. We're going to be talking about how women can get their fuck on this year. And I have some real advice coming your way because my guest today is certified sexual health clinician and founder and CEO of Innovative Wellness Inc. and Pure Vitality Inc., Dr. Rachael Cabreira. And I am going to let her tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does now.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Annette. Thank you for having me today. Super excited. I am the founder and CEO of Innovative Wellness and my intimate product line, Fulfilling. I've been in practice for about 23 years, taking care of women across their lifespan. I specialize in urogynecology, pelvic and sexual medicine, hormone health. What does that mean? We're taking care of women in all aspects and really trying to improve their quality of life in so many ways. I really developed my practice and have really dedicated my career to really trying to fill the gaps and the unmet needs of midlife women and men. I take care of men as well. So, on a daily basis, it's a conversation, it's building a relationship, and it's really trying to find solutions and personalizing those solutions to help women really optimize their lifestyle and ability to really enjoy their quality of life in so many ways. And I know today we're talking about sexual health and getting your fuck on. I love that because I have patients that come in and women just explain to me what's happening, explain to me where we're going to go with this. And, we kind of find that fit that really helps them thrive with moving into what they need to move into.
So listeners, please pay attention to what she just said. This podcast is going to be for women of all ages. We're going to be talking about the journey across a lifetime. In the past, we've talked about libido and really kind of focused in on menopausal women. But Dr. Cabreira and I are going to be really focusing on the sex drive journey across a woman's life. Also, she works with men. People of all genders, I assume. So this is for everybody to listen to, whether you're listening for yourself or you're listening for your partner. I think this is a really important conversation, especially if you're in a relationship where one or the other of you is struggling with getting in the mood to get it on. My goal in 2023 is to help all my listeners fuck more and fuck better. And I think a big part of that is learning how to cultivate your sex drive. And as you all know, I spent last year fucking myself every day of the year and waking up and invigorating my sex drive. So the doctor and I here are having coffee because it's early in the morning. So I said, bring your cup. Hers is more orgasms, please. That's what it says. You can go to my YouTube channel, handle Annette Benedetti, and check us both out. Mine says raw, authentic, and feminist as fuck. And cheers. Let's talk about sex, doctor. First things first. Dr. Cabreira and I were having a conversation before we launched into this podcast, and I want to retouch on those things for you all. First of all, I think what's most important to talk about is the importance of a woman's sex drive. I was telling the doctor, and I've told you before, people are always asking me, Annette, why does everything have to be about sex? Why is it sex, sex, sex? And I always say, I think a woman's sexuality, sex drive, libido is vital to her well-being. It's intrinsic in all aspects of her health. And the doctor agrees with me. So I'm going to let someone who has, more education on this and a medical background have this conversation here. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think that a woman's intimate wellness, whether you want to call it your sex life, how you orgasm, however you want to kind of title that for yourself, whatever you call that for yourself, or however you connect with that to yourself, it all really comes down to your intimate well-being. And I feel like that a woman's intimate well-being is the other heartbeat of her body. When a woman is not feeling sexy or beautiful or connected, or she's having, lack of lubrication, or she's having not great orgasms, or she's, feeling disconnected in her body, it really affects her overall well-being in so many ways. It affects not only her, it can affect relationships, it can affect her quality of life, it can affect her body image, it can affect so many pieces, and we kind of forget that, the mind, body, and spirit is connected. And when it becomes a little disconnected for a lot of different reasons, which I know we're going to talk about today, that it really does impact our quality of life in so many ways.
Right. And wouldn't you say then, in a way, what I'm hearing is that a woman's libido, wherever it's at, is almost like a thermometer taking the temperature for whatever else is going on in her body. I have noticed when my sex drive drops, when it's really low or when it's completely turned off, there's usually something else going wrong in my body, whether it's my mental health or I'm sick or unwell in some way. It's a really good way for me to know I am not in optimal health.
Right. And, we have to think about too, there's desire and there's libido. Desire is the take me now, I want you, I'm attracted to you. And the libido is the turning on the engine. It's the revving up, it's the oxygenation, the blood flow, the lubrication. Mm-hmm. So, you can have the situation where it can go either way. You can be like, okay, we're going to, I'm so attracted to you, let's get in bed right now and do this. But then if the libido is not turning on, or the lubrication isn't there and it's going to be uncomfortable, it doesn't provide a good experience, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're like, take me now, I'm ready to go. And, the lubrication is there, but you've maybe had a history of, maybe there's been discomfort, or maybe there's something going on. It, again, doesn't make the relationship or the experience good. Or you could just have the lubrication, but you don't have the desire.
Right.
You're like, okay, I'm all revved up and ready to go and I can do this, but maybe there's something going on with the relationship, or maybe you are really tired, or maybe women have a lot of things going on. And for a woman to be turned on, her mind has to be there. Where a man, he's ready to go. It's like the mind comes later, So it's one of those things where it really is a time and place, and it's really about the experience and what your body's going through. And there's many things that really can affect that level of function in so many ways.
Right, right. So one of the things I also want to do throughout this conversation is to dispel the prevalent myth. And, I hear it all the time, and I get messages from my cis male heterosexual listeners often, because I talk about my high sex drive. I often get messages, tell my wife this, because she doesn't want to have sex. It's a myth that women don't want to have sex, that women don't have sex drive, or that we have less of a sex drive than women. I think our sex drive, our libido, and obviously, it's interesting, this conversation about libido versus desire. And this is maybe the missing piece for some, especially of my cis male listeners out there. Women have all of that. It just works differently. It gets turned on and off differently. And there are a bunch of things that need to be happening for that part of our physicality and our life to stay healthy and turned on. And so hopefully as we go through this conversation, you can speak to that a little bit. And then we can dive into if your libido is just turning off, is not igniting when you need it to. Here are some ways you can quickly start working to rev it up and then take it to the next level if you want to. So, first of all, would you say that's true, that women do have as much of a sex drive as men? Or do you, as a doctor, think there is a big difference?
I think that there's this like myth, men walk around with hard-ons all day long and women hide it all day long, right?
Right.
And I can tell you by just the women I see in my practice on a daily basis, they come in, they want to be sexual. They want to feel their sexuality. They want to feel orgasms. They want to feel pleasure. They enjoy it. I have so many women that come in and they go, I truly enjoy sex. I want to have sex all the time. I want to be involved. I want to be chasing. I want to be the one chasing my husband or my partner around the house and not him chasing me.
Right.
And I think for women, it turns off for a lot of different reasons. And for men, it can turn off a lot of different reasons, and it's interesting because in my practice, women will come in and, we'll start having the conversation about, well, how is your libido? When has this changed? How long has this been going on for? And we have a whole bunch of, they talk about a whole bunch of things that have been going on in their life. And it could be years. Like they could say, this started a couple of years ago. They've been suffering with this lack of desire, lack of libido for years. Where men will come in and they'll be like, this started yesterday. And they're like, we need to do something now. We need to like fix this. And it's like, oh my Lord, okay, well, what happened yesterday? Did you have a night where you maybe had a couple more cocktails than usual, or were you fatigued, or, did you, what was the situation, right? Where women, it's like, it takes us time to rev up and it takes us time to talk about things. It takes us time to respond to things sometimes. And for women too, we have a lot going on. We are kind of the trunk of many branches, right? We are moms, we're wives, we're partners, we have careers, we have all kinds of stuff going on. And, we get through our day. And at the end of the day, if we're fatigued or if we're like, our mind is not present with, being connected, it really doesn't allow us to turn on in so many ways, where men, it's so much easier for them to turn off and turn on.
Right.
So it really is something that is different between, both sexes. However, for women, I see that, even though maybe it's not so much in the discussion every day, it's what they feel every day.
Right. What would you say is the most common libido killer for women, let's say ages 18 to 30? Let's start with kind of that early period of life. When you have a client in that age range that's coming in and complaining about libido issues, what is the primary cause or causes that you find are the reason?
For my younger ladies, it might be pelvic pain. They are entering, their sexuality, having new partners, having sex for their first time in their, early teens, moving into their 20s. And it's discomfort, or it's that building a relationship. They're not necessarily with someone that they're really comfortable with yet. They're building and learning relationships. They're learning their bodies. And, as women get into their 30s on, it's busy life. I think it's really that I'm tired. We start becoming disconnected in relationships sometimes. There's communication things going on. But I really feel that most of the conversations for my earlier aged women is really discomfort in some ways. And also the inability to understand, like, well, is this supposed to be uncomfortable? Is it not? How do I talk about this? So it's kind of that, conversation. But for the most part, for most women, honest to God, the true conversation is, I'm fatigued, or I'm just, I have so many things going on. It's that taking that time to kind of relax and engage and turn myself on. But not for everybody, but those are kind of the bigger topics that are the most common that women come in and talk about.
Okay, so let's talk about the different ways you address that. the different, quote, prescriptions that you give them for working on their libido. What is the first thing you go to when you're trying to help a woman start reigniting her sex drive?
Right. So if we want to talk about my teenagers and in my early 20s, it's really about talking to them specifically about, well, where are you sexually? What has your experiences been? Tell me a little bit about your relationship. Tell me a little bit about your partners. Tell me a little bit about what you're anticipating it to be, and we also talk, especially my teenagers and stuff, it's also body image. It's their lifestyle. It's kind of a lot of different things around that we talk about. And sometimes with the pelvic pain issues, it's really about, fixing the problem. Why are they having pelvic pain? What is that? What is that? And what is causing that? Some of my women too, who are on birth control pills, it can increase vaginal dryness. And so what is happening is their, desire is there and they're wanting to, have sex right now, but the discomfort is there because they have a vaginal dryness. So it's, I'm using more and more lube, or I'm, not feeling, it feels a little uncomfortable. So it kind of, that could kind of alter. And so we address that issue. We will talk about what the problem is. If it's a body image, if they're kind of diving into it for the first time, I kind of coach them through, better ways. Is that maybe using a vibrator, or is, where you can have control, you could kind of, stimulate, get the engine revving up and you have control of it, because sometimes girls are also like, they just want to have sex and penetration and there's not that foreplay. So let's have some foreplay. Let's kind of help you relax and get some of that, revving up going. So sometimes starting with a very simple vibrator can be very helpful to kind of, help turn on the engine.
Do you have a favorite sex toy to recommend? Do you have a type that you think is best for the beginner?
I usually will recommend, there's a couple of brands out there. One that I like to recommend to a lot of women is called this, I think I might say it wrong, but it's a Swacom vibrator, and it's very soft. It's very flexible. It has a clitoral stimulator as well as, the internal portion that goes into the vagina, but it's very flexible. So don't use anything that's hard, stiff, that's going to, put uncomfortable penetration in any way. Use something that's more flexible so you have control of kind of how it feels good, Right. And I think that is really helpful for women, because they'll come back and say, Rachel, that really worked. And it helped me overcome some of my worries, my fears of it being uncomfortable, or just kind of exploring my body.
Right.
Learning how to explore the body better and explore my intimate parts, my clitoris, my vulva, and my vagina, and kind of understanding where things feel good and what I enjoy. And moving on from there, it's really based on a lot of hormone stuff. So, when we're teenagers, we're really well lubricated and our hormones are all over the place, and we're chasing like that feeling. Whereas we turn, our mid 30s on, that becomes a little on the opposite end. So then we're dealing with, let's check your hormones. Let's understand what those hormones are doing and how they're fluctuating and where the gaps are. And also, from 30 on, we're also talking about, there's a lot of women who are becoming new moms, and they're in their careers and their, the lifestyle. What is their diet like? What is their movement like? What is their sleep like? So we're looking at all of those pieces as well, and then addressing where those gaps are and where we need to improve some of those things.
Yeah. So what I want to do now is start talking about each of those things. Like, we are going to go through them point by point. So when my listeners get to the end of this podcast, they are going to have some literal takeaways. They're like, I'm going to try this, 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 and this. So let's start with hormone therapy. A lot of women hear, you should get your hormones checked. I'm going to tell you my experience with that really quick. I am going through perimenopause. The first thing I did as it got intense for me was I went to my OBGYN and I said, "Hey, can I get my hormones checked? I'm gaining weight. I I I'm not going to bore you with the list of symptoms." And my OBGYN looked at me and said, "Oh, we don't do that because your hormones change from day to day, and that's not going to tell us much." I went to another OBGYN. The exact thing, same thing happened to me again. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm hearing and reading about all of this hormone therapy. Get your hormones checked, especially if you're having weight gain and fatigue. And I go to my doctors, and my doctors scoff at it. So obviously, you're a doctor. You have just said that this is hormone therapy is a thing. Can you talk to my listeners about what that looks like and how they can get it done?
Absolutely. So, and at the number one thing is we're born with these hormones. Okay. And from the minute we're born, and I like to push it to our 40s, our hormones are raging. They're up and down, they're fluctuating. Our body's constantly recruiting, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone to be made. And they statistically, they say from 35 on, hormones start to slowly decrease to the point where eventually no period for a year. Welcome to the next adventure of your life. Now you're in menopause. That 40 to no period for a year time frame for a woman, I have to say, I call it the gray zone. It is the most challenging time for a woman because hormones are still happening, but they're decreasing at lower levels. So you're feeling more symptomatic, right? Like for you, example, you're feeling, it's more difficult sleeping, or, I can't get this weight off. I can't move the scale. I'm eating healthy. I'm exercising, foggy head. There's so many things. The decreased libido, lack of lubrication by far is the first thing that most women will experience. But what I can tell you, number one, is estrogen has about 400 jobs in the body. Progesterone has about 350 jobs in the body. Which testosterone gets ignored a lot because people think, oh, testosterone is just a man's hormone. Absolutely not. It is a very vital hormone that women need as well. But also, when we're looking at hormones, we're not just talking about progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. We're also talking about cortisol. We're talking about thyroid. We're talking about insulin. We're talking about, vitamin levels, gut health. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that we have to really look at. And so when I see my patient for the first time and we're talking about hormone health, the first thing I talk about is, okay, what are your symptoms? What's happening? What's not happening? So we can really kind of figure out not only subjectively what they're feeling and where we need to kind of focus in on, but also then we discuss what hormone testing looks like. So hormone testing, I do 24-hour urine as the first step for women. And really what it is it's very comprehensive, very detailed information that breaks down your progesterone, your estrogens, testosterone, and cortisol. And it not only tells me what's going in and going out, but it also tells me how it's being utilized in the body and how it's being excreted. So it gives me a lot of information to tell me how these hormones are all working together and how they're also breaking down. Because what we want to look at is your body's making estrogen. Here's the amount that it's making. But as it's, it utilizes what it needs, but then it'll have some excess and that needs to be excreted in the body. If your body's not, excreting it correctly or efficiently, then it can increase your risk for breast cancer, so I want to know the details of how these hormones are working in your body. So once we get the labs together and we look at the overall profile, then we figure out where those gaps are and where we can conservatively, treat you and, what hormones we need to give you. Because, a lot of women will say, I'm feeling, hot flashes, and they automatically are just given estrogen, but it might be, progesterone. It might be they need some testosterone. So, this really gives us the information that we need to really conservatively treat you and help you feel better.
And then how do you, what do you prescribe?
So, depending on what's low. So let's just say all of it's low. I can tell you that 50% of my labs that come back will say like below detected limits. And I was like, whoa, this puts a language to their symptoms. This is why you're feeling so crappy, right? You're not sleeping, can't get through your day, you have no tolerance, you're, just feeling miserable. So the first thing that I absolutely love is that when we get these labs, they feel like, oh my gosh, there's a language to my symptoms. I'm not crazy. I'm not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not normal anymore. So if it's progesterone, I prescribe pure progesterone, the capsule. Years ago, they used to, they used to use a progesterone cream, but what we found is it didn't absorb well, and it wasn't effective to really treat progesterone levels. So, if your progesterone is low, I will treat you with progesterone. The benefits of treating with progesterone when your progesterone is low is a few things. It helps with bone mineralization. It helps with upregulating and downregulating your estrogen. So it helps that function and that fluctuation be supported. And one of progesterone's important jobs too is to actually help the function of REM sleep. So when menopausal or perimenopausal women are saying, God, I'm not sleeping well, like maybe I fall asleep and then I'm waking up, or I wake up and I have that chitty chatty brain and I can't really go back to sleep, is because of that function not happening correctly. So progesterone is kind of like the calming hormone. It's not a sedative. It's not, a sleeping pill in any way. It's a hormone that helps with those types of functions. Estrogen, I only use transdermal, meaning that whether it's a patch or a cream on the skin, and or vaginal estrogen for sure. And vaginal estrogen, extremely topical. It is to treat vaginal dryness. Treating vaginal dryness and putting estrogen in the vagina does not treat your system. So system does not treat vagina, vagina doesn't treat system. And it's just, once we start losing some of our hormone quantities in our body, like the body just doesn't want to share. So, it's very common that we have women on both estrogens. Oral estrogen there's so many side effects. I haven't been prescribing oral estrogen for over 15 years because of its side effects. And it can increase risk for breast cancer and blood clots, where transdermal estrogen has been studied and researched to be the safest application for estrogen replacement. And testosterone, women sometimes, it's just a breath that women actually need. Men need much larger quantities. That is their level or their hormone that really, is the big driver in their body. For women, we need testosterone, but not in those types of quantities. But testosterone has everything to do with metabolism, with libido, with bone strength, with brain health. There's a lot of studies that have shown, once a woman starts to go into menopause, she now is more at risk for osteoporosis, dementia, and cardiovascular disease, because those hormones aren't there to support. But it takes the team. I call estrogen, progesterone, testosterone like the Charlie's Angels.
Right.
They all have a place. They are a team. And like one doesn't work great without the other being balanced, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And so this is something that women can have checked at any point in their life. It can affect them at any point in their life. So I want to make that clear. I think that oftentimes women feel like it's only for when you're going through menopause, but that's not the case. If you are struggling with libido, dryness, physical symptoms, any of these things that the doctor was talking about, you can go in. Now, again, I did not get that receptiveness. Is there a kind of doctor? How does a woman know who to go to who will say, okay, I'll check your hormones. We'll do this together? I went to 2 doctors. That never happened. So why?
Yeah, I think, in years of going through school, we don't have a lot of that education per se, to dive into our career and know everything. Right. So it is something that is an expertise, which I have dove into. And, even early in my career, when I was doing OBGYN and infertility, sexual health and hormone management was a part of, endless levels of those conversations. And so I personally found a love in that field that I have grown and continued to grow and develop passion in and expertise in. So I've become an expert in hormone health. I've become an expert in hormone management. So I guess it's just trying to find people who really are expertise in that. And there are quite a few OBGYNs out there who are experts in this field, but it's finding the right person, right? Like anything else, like finding the right fit for you, the right management that you're looking for. But it's also, searching for someone who has the expertise and the education to support what you're doing, because there's a lot of things out there that say we're going to help your hormones, and you get online and you give them a few details and they send you a box of hormones and off you go. So there's all these different things out there now that women are introduced to. And, when you're feeling those symptoms and you're feeling miserable, you're kind of in a search and you're kind of become desperate, right?
Yes.
And there is a lot of mixed information and things out there that are, I see it every day. I have women, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I have these patients come and see me and they're like, here's this box I was sent and I'm not feeling good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did they test you? Did they, so finding a provider that does hormone testing appropriately, that, definitely has education. I have a fellowship in regenerative and, integrative medicine. So I have, really dove into the level of education and certifications that are needed, to understand hormone health. And it's really understanding the pathophysiology and the root of how these hormones work too. So there's a lot of pieces to it. And it's not just something you can read a textbook and like say, oh, I'm an expert in,
Right.
So I think it's really finding someone who has that level of expertise and being careful of what you are, getting yourself involved in. Like some of these online programs are really disconnected and giving people the wrong information.
Right. Hopefully you listen to that. You want to look for someone who has the certifications, the experience, and then who you feel comfortable communicating to, who listens to you. I have found in my own search for providers, that's the key thing, is finding someone I can talk to who makes me feel comfortable, who I feel like is listening to me and not judging me. So that's very helpful information. Thank you. Outside of going to the doctor, what can we do at home? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about food. I know from the research I've done that because I want to look at this problem as a holistic issue. Let's talk about some things you can do with your diet to increase your libido and hopefully your desire. Do you have suggestions?
I always go back to the conversation with nutrition is eating a plate full of colorful foods, eating a plate full of vegetables and fruits and proteins and just healthy, fortified foods that are, going to help our body thrive, that are going to help our body keep healthy. When we eat foods that are high in fats or that are, have lots of preservatives and fillers and things like that, they're going to bog our body down. They're going to bog our metabolism down. They're going to bog our brain function down, right? So we want to eat fortified, healthy foods. Is there one specific food? There's so many things out there that say, eat this one food. Like I had this guy come in and he's like, I was told if I eat all of these peas, it is going to make my erections harder. And I'm like, where did you get that information from? But it comes back down to actually eating healthy. And along with eating healthy is what your movement is, right? So I tell women, use your food as a tool, movement is medicine, right? Because if you're eating healthy and you're exercising, you're getting oxygenation, you're getting blood flow, you are fortifying your body with all of these healthy elements to really strengthen your body's function, you're going to have better sex, you're going to have better orgasms, you're going to have better health, a better sleep. So there's a lot of things why your nutrition is so important. What kind of foods? Blueberries, strawberries, things that have high antioxidants have been proven to really help brain health, cardiovascular health, and when we talk about brain health and cardiovascular health, it's arterial health. It's oxygenation and blood flow to your arteries. It's helping, expand so we can have healthy function. So things that are fortified in antioxidants are probably the first thing that you can add to your diet daily.
So blood flow and oxygen is a theme I've noticed in the interviews I've done over time. Yes. And I think that it's often, this is something we speak to when we speak to men's erections. Well, they need the blood flow to get their dicks up. I mean, I think that's how we are taught, because generally speaking, the conversation around libido has traditionally been around men and their penises and their ability to get their cocks up. But it is the same for women and their clitorises and their vaginas. You need that blood flow, in your vulva, in your vagina, in your clitoris in order to get excited. And as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the reason behind a decreased desire and libido is a decreased blood flow to that area. And thus oxygen, right? Because oxygen is carried through the blood. I am not a doctor. I didn't even do good at biology in school, but is that correct?
Absolutely. Oxygenation, blood flow, it is like such this conversation all the time. And it's like, do you get good oxygen to your penis or do you get good oxygen to your clitoris? It's like, well, how the heck do I do that? Stress. Okay, stress turns on the fight or flight. What happens when the fight or flight goes on? Everything constricts, right? So our daily lives filled with whatever life is happening, stress is the number one killer, right? So stress, lack of sleep, eating habits that aren't good, you're not exercising, you're not getting those endorphins. When a guy comes in and says, I'm having issues with erectile function, the first question and the first thing I'm looking at is like, well, what is your cardiovascular system and health like? And that drives from stress, eating, sleep, all of those pieces. Do they have cardiovascular disease? What medications are they taking, right? Blood flow and oxygenation is the key to revving up, to getting lubrication going, to strength and, that intense sensation of orgasm, for men and women. There are a lot of things clinically that we can do to really help optimize that as well. Looking at what the lifestyle things, what lifestyle is happening, and then physically, pathophysiologically, what the body is going through. So there's different pieces that we want to look at for that. But yeah, that's the key thing. But to have healthy oxygenation and blood flow, we have to have a healthy body.
So what are some of the things? Let's say someone is starting to work out and stuff like that, but they want extra help with increasing that blood flow. And oxy. Whatever, the oxygen to the clit. What are some things you can do for them?
Absolutely. So when we're looking at oxygenation and blood flow, of course, the conversations we've had in it, of course, we're going to be asking the questions, hormones, sleep, diet, movement, all of those pieces, number one. That's going to be part of it. The other thing is, Rachael, I'm eating healthy. I'm exercising every day or most days of the week. My stress levels are okay. It's then, okay, well, what can we do to rev you up sometimes? Sometimes we just need to do something to kind of get them over the hump a little bit to get back on track. There are there's some medications. There are two treatments that I offer in my office. The first treatment that I absolutely love, I started using a few years ago, is the Cleovana. It is a ultrasonic wave therapy treatment that is an amazing treatment that works with your body's natural process to really enhance arousal at the cellular level. What that means is that we're working on all of the nerves and the arterial health of the structure to really help optimize regenerating and restoring function. So it's an amazing treatment. It's very easy. There's no discomfort. It's 4 treatments that you come in 2 weeks in a row for. So 2 treatments a week for 2 weeks. And it's really an ultrasonic wave therapy where we do externally, we apply like a cupping step that goes over the clitoral body. So for women, we use it for men and women. So for women, we use a 3-step part where we put a little cup over the clitoral that it actually helps. It's almost like a heartbeat on your clitoris, okay? Right. And it actually helps. What it's doing is it's recruiting growth factors to come to the area to restore function. So we're calling all cars. So what are growth factors? They're the healing team of the body. So if you've ever had injury or illness, disease, infection, this is the team that goes and helps heal and restore. Okay. Like, for example, if you've ever had a cut and you have a scab, that's your growth factors healing. Okay. So what we're doing is we're recruiting growth factors to these areas to restore function. So we use a cupping procedure. We use a microablating procedure where it just kind of, it almost like taps like the vulvar area just to create like a stimulation to the body, like, oh, something's going on in this specific area. We need to go to the party, okay? Mm-hmm. And then there's like, I almost call it like a vibrating type of procedure at the end that actually helps relax and open up the channels to let everything restore and
It sounds like a sex toy. It sounds like you're going to have.
You can imagine the things that women have told me when they're using this treatment, but I can tell you, women love it because they'll come in for 15 minutes on a lunch break and they're like, I've done my Cleovana treatment. I'm doing something amazing for myself. I feel good. It's increasing lubrication. It's increasing the strength and sensitivity of orgasm. And it really just helps them get over the hump and gets them having better orgasms.
So 4 treatments and then they're done, or do they have to keep coming back for it?
It's 4 treatments and then, it takes about 3 months to optimize. In that time, they're going to start feeling better, but it really takes 3 months to optimize because growth factors take time to regenerate. Okay. In the midst of it, we're talking about intimate skincare. We're talking about, taking care of your skin. It's the most sensitive skin of the body. And it is, something that needs care, just like our skin on our face. We need to take care of our intimate skin. I think it's by your early 30s and particularly 5 years after of menopause, your skin loses about 30% of its collagen. So we want to replenish that as best as possible because if you're having thin, dry skin, we want to replenish that as well. So Cleovana is getting the internal. We can use a moisturizer as well. Sometimes women need a little vaginal estrogen, to kind of help the intimate mucosa in the vagina. So there's sometimes it's not like one thing is a magic wand necessarily. It's kind of a treatment protocol that we put together so they really can optimize this as they're, as this is working.
So Cleovana, I want everybody to put that in their brain and start considering it. And that is something you can use at any age range. It's not just for menopausal women. Also, vaginal skincare. This is something, I don't know, maybe I will have you back for a full conversation on this. This is something that has only been introduced to me this year. And it's been mind-blowing to me. And it's insane to me that we haven't been talking about. I put a lot of effort into my skincare routine and I get compliments. Anyone who touches me is like, how is your skin that soft and healthy? I put a lot of effort into it. I never once considered the fact, and this is insane, that I would need to do the same skincare to my vaginal and vulva area. And there are products out there for that. But I do feel like that's a whole conversation in and of itself. And because we don't have time for the full conversation, can you just throw out maybe some, and you did kind of, but sum up vaginal skincare? What are some products that people listening to this podcast could start thinking about or looking into?
Absolutely. So about 5 years ago, after years of taking care of women, life stories, life experiences, the conversation is my skin is dry. and it hurts. Sometimes I can't even put underwear on. Sometimes it's just to wipe or to, it's an area that's never left alone, right?
Right.
I mean, it's never left alone where it's toilet paper, it's underwear, it's clothes, it's just always vulnerable, right? In so many ways. And skin is our largest organ of our body, right? And our intimate skin is our most sensitive skin of our body. And as we age, just like I said, it loses the collagen, it loses elasticity, it loses that, it loses the plumpness. We're supposed to have wrinkles in our vagina.
Yes. But just like
Okay.
our face, everyone worries about lines in their
Right,
face and losing the plumpness in your face.
right.
That's happening in your vagina, folks.
Your vagina. And so, and we also talk about it's the vulva, it's the clitoral, all of that's all covered by intimate skin. And that's what protects our body from environment, right?
Right.
With that being said, there's glides. There are a million lubes on the market. Okay. Lube is for glide. It's like putting the Band-Aid on and then ripping it off. It doesn't do anything to really therapeutically support the skin.
Right.
So a few years ago, I really became frustrated because there was this lack in the industry of finding a great product. And so I actually invented a product. And what I invented it with is it's a water serum. It is powered by peptides. So it has the growth factors and the ability to help increase collagen, increase hydration, and hold moisture in the skin. So it's something that you can apply daily as an intimate moisturizer. So I have women apply it daily, just like they would do it on their face. I do it, do this on your vulva, and you can apply it at the entrance of the vagina, everywhere daily down there.
What is it called? So listeners, I want to preface this with, I actually had no idea. Somehow, and I did read through all of your information. I had no idea that you had created this. So this is really exciting. You are finding this out at the same time as I'm finding it out. I have looked into and learned about other products, but this is unique. I have not yet. This is the first product I've heard of with peptides. So what is the name of your product?
It's fulfilling.
Fulfilling. Okay.
Fulfilling. So it with an E-N-E at the end, because we just, it's fulfilling your quality of life. I really had to find something that therapeutically treated women. And it's been a journey. I originally just made it for patients in my practice, but as it came out, it's not just what they needed, it's what they were waiting for, So it's been it's really been a journey, but it works really well. It's been clinically studied. It's a patent formulation. I'll send one to you, Annette. You need to use it.
Please.
But, the product is multi-use. You use it daily as a vulvar moisturizer. You can use it before, during, and after intercourse. You can use it after shaving or waxing or anytime the skin feels compromised. So it's really a multi-use product.
Yeah, please do send me a sample. And listeners, I will get you information in the form of an article, a video. I am really passionate about it. Again, this is new to me. I've only been introduced to and started looking into the concept of vaginal skincare. Duh, guys, duh. Like, it's insane to me. It's not something that has been part of our healthcare routine all along, but taking care of that skin down there. So I would love to check it out and learn more about it, because I really want women to start getting to know their pussies intimately and learning how to take care of them and feel comfortable with them. And I feel like that is kind of new. I was never encouraged to touch myself and to care for myself down there. When I was young, it was like a quick learning of how to clean in the bathroom, and that's it. But it's amazing that there is a product that you can use to keep it moist and keep it healthy, just like we do our faces. Women are so concerned about their facial routine. Why would we not feel the same about our vaginas?
Well, it's really funny that because it has the peptides. I have women use it on their hands. They put it around their eyes. I actually have a woman who she rubs it on her husband's bald head. It works. I mean, it's skin, right? But,
right.
Having that, and I talk to women all the time, and it's it is like that conversation, like, oh my God, I didn't know I was supposed to take care of that skin down there.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I had no clue. And I'm like, oh no, this is part of our journey today that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
So
Well,
it's a
thank you.
fantastic conversation to have with women.
Yeah, it's such a, it is, this is a new topic, I think, for women. Now, I want to speak to supplements. I know women are constantly hearing about being bombarded with supplements for increasing the libido.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any that you suggest? And can you just give my listeners some takeaways if you know, there's something that they can look into for themselves?
I always recommend a great multivitamin for women that is fortified with B complexes that help. B complexes, number one, help with energy, right? One of B complexes' most important jobs is to help the conversion in the gut to convert nutrients into healthy energy for the body. So a multivitamin that has good B complexes, that has some magnesium, that has antioxidants, that has vitamin E. Vitamin D is huge. So I can tell you that I can't remember the statistic, Annette, but it's like over 50% of the population is low in vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
Vitamin D has everything to do with a little bit of everything in our body now that we're finding, right? Over the years, they've really been studying and they're like, oh my gosh, it's linked to vitamin D. It's linked to vitamin D. Vitamin D has everything to do with bone health, brain health, cardiovascular health, immune health, huge on our immune. Okay, if our immune's a little down and we're feeling sluggish, we're not feeling vibrant, right? So vitamin D is really important. Antioxidants, CoQ10. There's been a lot of talk about glutathione. It's one of those are like two most powerful antioxidants in the body that help with conversion, that help with support, that help with protection in so many ways of our health. So there's lots of, things out there that we can take. And if you want to take a takeaway, a really good multivitamin is a key thing because most people are healthy. Most people don't have a lot of deficiencies. So something that just helps support the gaps where maybe they can't fill them in a healthy diet, a multivitamin is always a good place to start.
Do you have a favorite multivitamin for women?
I actually do. I have it's called Ultimate Multi, which has the B complexes, the antioxidants, the vitamin D, a little mag, the a pure vitamin E, and some other good ingredients that I can send you the link to if you want me to send it to you.
Yeah, that would be great. Just to have
Yeah.
one that they know is recommended by you. Are there any other supplements that you can think of off the bat that you would recommend?
DHEA has become kind of a bigger supplement out there. And I tell people it is a hormone and you do have to be careful. Like maybe you don't need it. So this is kind of one of those things where there are so many supplements out there and it's like, it's going to make you a new woman or it's going to make you a new man, but does your body really need it? You got to be kind of careful with it. But DHEA at a very low dose, I think would be helpful for a lot of people. Again, there's some contraindications. Check with your provider, your healthcare provider before starting some of these things, just because we want to make sure you're healthy. If you're pregnant or if you have a history of cancer or things like that, those are things to watch out for. But DHEA has become, a really great supplement that works really well. It helps support estrogen, testosterone, progesterone. It helps energy. It helps libido. It helps metabolism. So it's not the magic wand supplement, but it definitely helps. It helps in a lot of different ways.
And one that I keep hearing about, and I attempted to take and could not keep it down, oddly enough, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on, is maca root. I mean, it is one that is coming up everywhere and being suggested. I think I even had a doctor, one of my OBGYNs, kind of just throw it out there. Thoughts on that?
Maca root is, it's been around, for probably like 300 years.
Yeah.
It's been around forever. And it's something that, you can try, you can add. It's supposed to help with vitality. It's supposed to help with energy. It's supposed to help with libido a little bit. It's supposed to help with brain health, cardiovascular health. but it's something, again, in moderation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't down your body with it necessarily. I would, try it and see. And to your point, and I think, Annette, did you just say that did it give you an upset stomach?
Yeah, I couldn't keep it.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. I took a pill,
Yeah.
and within 5 minutes, I had the worst acid reflux. And I tried it a couple times,
Yeah.
and like my face flushed, and I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
You know?
So, again, I go back to try a multivitamin first.
Yes.
Something simple, something fortified, something that fills, the B complexes. And I keep going back to the B complexes because they are kind of the foundation of energy production in the body, which when you're feeling good, sleeping good, your sex is good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Before we go, I want to get your opinion on my 365 days of orgasms journey I did last year. On the 1st of January last year, I made a resolution to have an orgasm every day for the entire year. I managed to do that. And it has made me more orgasmic. I went from taking 45 minutes to orgasm to, I can knock one out in a good 5 or 10 minute session. I found my G spot. My G spot is awake. It's never been awake in my whole life. I found my A spot, P spot. Like basically it ignited my whole vagina, my pussy, my vulva. It's almost like it's awake in a way that it literally has never been throughout my whole life. Now, I believe that some of the reason why I didn't have as much sensation had to do from, trauma in my younger years and stuff like that. But I am curious, as a doctor, do you feel that there's any maybe medical significance to that? Is there something to having done that for myself every day that could have helped increase my libido, my pleasure, my ability to orgasm?
So we know that orgasms, we call it increases oxytocin. And oxytocin, I call it the love hormone. I mean, it's that stimulation, it's those endorphins that are flying, and orgasms just in themselves have so many health benefits. It helps increase estrogen. It helps, everything from, when we're talking about oxygenation and blood flow, it helps decrease cardiovascular risk. It helps skin health. It helps improve emotional well-being, increase happiness, feeling closer to yourself, to your partner. It has so many pieces to so many things in your life. And, not only starting with you first, but also just in general, of things that, lifestyle for you. It helps even with metabolism. Yeah. How many calories do you think it burns when you have an orgasm?
How many?
It helps you sleep better. We can put a number to that. We can put any number we want to that, I think.
Right.
Depending. But it helps the sleep, those endorphins and all of that, oxytocin that's going on in your body. It even helps. And if you're getting good sleep, you're having more energy to have more sex.
Yeah. See, it's interesting because I've gotten a lot of interesting reactions over the year of people saying, don't you think that's excessive? Or maybe you have an addiction, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel like an orgasm is the equivalent of a multivitamin each day. It really, from what the research, again, I am not a scientist or doctor, but from what I was reading and listening to you, it really does have health benefits. Legit.
I think it's the other heartbeat of a woman's body.
Oh, you just wrapped
this up. If it's not beating, you're not alive, right?
Yes, so it's perfect. I think you just summed this entire podcast up. Woman's orgasmic life, libido, sex drive is her other heartbeat, and it's one that we need to listen to and care for. And I just appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I want to sum it up with just a reminder, takeaway when you get off of this podcast, when you are done with it, some things that the doctor has said that you can do if you want to start working on your libido right now. Obviously, if you're struggling, find someone to talk to, find a medical professional to talk to who's really going to listen to you, who isn't going to send you away when you ask to have your hormone levels looked at. And even if you're 20 or 30, your hormones could be off. This is not something that is only for women in their midlife or older women. So go and ask to have them checked. Look at your lifestyle. I'm not throwing out, this is not a body shaming thing. This is not about being fat. This is about moving, get some movement on, eat healthy, whole foods, put them into your diet. There are hormone replacement therapies that can happen. There are some supplements. I'm going to have that vitamin for you in the description below of this podcast. And then there's Cliavana. Find a professional who can offer that. And I am going to be finding out more about your vaginal skincare product. Guys, now, I just found out that she has one, but this is something I've been looking into and really wanting to, I wanted to start writing about it. I want to start talking about it. But let's all together start looking into what vaginal skin care product is all about, how we can use it, integrate it into our daily life. Maybe after I try your product, I can have you back and I can have that conversation with you. I would really love to do that because I think this is so important for women to start feeling comfortable and confident enough to truly care for their pussies. Care for your pussy. So
absolutely, care for your pussies, and there's options and resources and there's solutions.
Absolutely.
So don't be ashamed to talk about wanting your pussy to be alive.
Yes. Can you take a moment to tell people where they can find you, where they can find out more information about you, maybe reach out to you if they want to, and then find your products?
Absolutely. So my practice is located in Walnut Creek, California. My actual practice name is innovativewellnessinc.com. That's the website you can go to get all of the information of where you could contact me. You can call us directly. We have a live person. My staff is fantastic. They're ready to just start a relationship, start a conversation, and meet your needs wherever those need to be. We also have some, a tele video visit option too. So if you're out of town, the area to commute here, that, we can address that as well and make that available to you. My intimate product line is fulfilling.com. And that is, it's a little funny spelling. It's FULFILLENE.com. And it is where I have a wonderful website set up with a lot of information for women across their lifespan to really address intimate skin health, intimate skincare routines, whether you're, just wanting to do a skincare routine to I just had a baby to I'm menopausal. So lots of information there as well that you can order the product. There's information and there's links to that if you need more information, you could find that there. And I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. All the basic fun places you can find us.
Can you give me your Instagram and Facebook handles?
Sure. Instagram is for it's Innovative Wellness Inc. And for Instagram it's Fulfilling.
Fulfilling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have you back to talk about intimate skincare wellness. It's something I'm way too excited about.
No,
but
it is an above beyond passion. It's a conversation that we'll have to save for the next one.
I know, it's so hard. I want to get into it now, but we can't. So
me too.
Look, folks, I'm going to direct you to you can actually watch this podcast on my YouTube. I've already given you the handle, Annette Benedetti. You can find me on TikTok, Locker Room Talk Podcast. Also, I want you to consider joining my Patreon. You can listen ad-free and read some of my personal sex diaries on my Patreon, which is Locker Room Talk Podcast. I have the link below. But at the $5 level, I'm actually doing some exclusive podcasts and interviews that you can go there and listen to them. So check them out and listen up because I'll be sharing some of the stuff that's going on my Patreon. Check it out. You can find me on all the socials, Locker Room Talk and Shots on Instagram and Facebook. join my personal Instagram at being Benedetti. And I think that covers everything. She explores life. You guys know about that. Scroll down to the description of this podcast. You're going to find all the links to the doctor's businesses, products. You're going to find the links to my socials and my Patreon. And so until next time, thank you so much for joining me. Get out there, fire up your libido. We all deserve to get our fuck on. So until next time, cheers. I'll see you in the locker room.